What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. We got the Final Four, baby. I told you guys from the jump, Duke Blue Devils are going to win it all. Coach K's last year. I mean, what more can we say? Coach K, what a career as a coach. One of the best to ever do it. 5-time national champion. Look, and he's going for number 6 right here. He's going to tie MJ for titles. Obviously not NBA, but we're talking college basketball. But you get what I'm saying. 6 rings in different categories, different levels. But Coach K, he's a legend, dude. That's why I went with them, and that's why a lot of the whales, a lot of the big bettors in Vegas before the NCAA tournament started, they went heavy on Duke. But why? Because of Coach K, bro. It's thinking logic. It's thinking smart. It's thinking ahead of the curve a little bit and saying, you know what? I'm going to bet on the smartest coach here. They might not have the best players in the NCAA tournament. I understand that. But who has the best coach? And that's Duke. And it's been Duke for decades. For decades upon decades. You know, shout out to Coach K. His overall record versus North Carolina. This is ironic. Duke versus North Carolina. First matchup in the NCAA tournament in history. This is great. Their all-time matchup since 1980. Duke has 50 wins. North Carolina has 49. I mean, this is a boxing heavyweight matchup here. You know, it's really who's going to play better at the end. And I think whoever's going to have the momentum with about 5 minutes ago left in the game, I think that's who's really going to take over this game. But this is awesome. Coach K versus North Carolina of his career is 50 and 49. So obviously North Carolina's a top dog as well. Duke's 4-point favorites into this. We saw at the end of the season, Duke, Coach K's last game. They lost to North Carolina. They really got their asses beat. They did. And then vice versa, we go earlier in the season. We saw Duke beat North Carolina by 20 points. So both lopsided wins for each side. Now we're going for a third round, and I think this is going to be great, dude. I think this is going to be iconic. We go back a couple years ago, Villanova, shout out to Villanova, in the Final Four versus Kansas. They played North Carolina in the national championship game. You guys remember that. We remember Villanova hitting the game winner. We remember, North Carolina fans crying after the game. Couldn't believe it. You just in shock, really. It was crazy. What an ending, but I think this Final Four, we kind of have that anticipation as well. Anticipation for another great ending. We really do. So, speaking of Duke, man, this is it. This is it for Coach K. This is off into the sunset. So I think, for coaching perspective, Coach K gave it his all. Every single minute, every single second he had to the game of basketball. And I truly believe he was definitely passionate about the game. That's why he's one of the best coaches ever. And he learned from one of the best. Shout out to Bobby Knight. But I think North Carolina going to this game, their key players are going to have to step up. Because if their key players are not making open shots, if they're missing jumpers, missing the small things, giving up rebounds, offensive rebounds, the hustle plays, who's going to get the 50-50 ball? This is really who's going to win the game. Who's going to dive on the ball first? Is it going to be Duke or North Carolina? Who's going to make the block that they need it, in the first half? Who's going to make these type of plays, man? These are championship level plays, and I think Duke right now, they're going to have to step up. We saw just a couple weeks ago them lose to North Carolina pretty badly. Okay? It wasn't just oh, man, it's a little beat. No, they got beat pretty bad. So I think this time around, I'm going to go Duke. You guys know my picks. But, that was before the tournament started, that was it. That was the cash cow was Duke Blue Devils. And Pakal, their main player for Duke, he's about 6'10". This guy's nice. And I think, what he's got to do, he's got to hit his shots. He's got to create for other players. He's got to create for the role players. They're going to have to crash to the basket. They're just going to have to be more involved here because Duke, the last game of the season, they weren't that amped up. We didn't see the energy. We saw them give up offensive rebounds. This is the little things, okay? The little things start to add up, and I think Coach K is great at attention to detail, and his team will be ready tomorrow night. And I cannot wait for this, dude. This is definitely the game to watch. Yes, we do have Villanova in Kansas. Kansas is 4-point favorites coming to this game, and I think this is really a coin flip as well, but obviously I'm leaning more towards Kansas. Kansas, they've been in this spot, many times. He's great coach. I just think what they got, what Kansas has going for them is their big man, their big game, their players that play big in the paint, dude. And that's Kansas. And they don't give up offensive boards. They don't give up the little things, and that's what Kansas is great at. So I think Kansas is going to be ready for this game. I think they're going to be, obviously Villanova championship team as well. But I think the head coach for Kansas, Bill Self, he's going to have his troops ready. You can't come up short again right now. I think Kansas got to win this game because they're either going to play North Carolina or Duke in the national championship game, and that's a huge game. That is absolutely big, dude. These programs, dude, like alone from going back to Duke and North Carolina alone, these two programs have split 11 national championships between the two, okay, between Duke and North Carolina. Not to mention what Kansas has done historically. So these programs, man, they're championship programs. We saw Villanova win a national championship a couple years ago against North Carolina. So this is all possible here. And that's why I think college basketball is so great, is because we saw teams like St. Peter's run deep this year, where it's like nobody saw St. Peter's running this deep, okay? Nobody ever heard of St. Peter's unless you're a St. Peter's fan or you got a son playing on that team or coach, assistant coach, something in that. But it's like nobody ever heard of St. Peter's, but that's iconic because we got these small schools running super deep to the Elite Eight. First 15 seed, so shout out to St. Peter's for running that deep, but North Carolina, the cream always rises to the top, so I can't wait for this, and a lot of North Carolina fans are going to go heavy on North Carolina. That makes sense. I mean, I want to put it past them. If North Carolina wins that game, I'm going to say congrats, but I just think Duke, what they're up against right now, and all the players on Duke right now, their roster right now, they're saying, hey, dude, this is Coach K's it, man. This could be Coach K's last 40 minutes of his coaching career ever. He's never going to coach again. So I think the players understand, hey, if we really run deep, go to the championship game, we got 80 minutes right here with Coach K, and that's it. He's going to set off to the sunset. And look at all the iconic Duke players that coach for Coach K, that were players for Coach K, that just brought in. For instance, off my head, J.J. Redick. I mean, look at J.J. Redick. Was a great player for Coach K, did all the important things, but Coach K said something straight to him when he was 19, said, hey, do you want to become a champion? It really installing it into the players. And we saw Duke win in 2010. I actually got to see that in Indianapolis. That was a crazy, playing Butler. And then we saw him win 5 years later in 2015 against Wisconsin, which I bet against Duke that year. I bet Wisconsin, I thought Wisconsin was overall better team, which they were, but they don't always win. And Wisconsin was up that game in the national championship game in 2015 until like 5 minutes to go, and Duke just set it off, and that was it. And it was so heartbreaking to see Wisconsin blow a lead like that and just give it up right there. It really sucked, but that's just Duke for you. They never give up their championship team. Every play is a championship play for Duke and also North Carolina. So I think we're going to get, for all the basketball fans, all the college basketball fans around the world, I mean, what more can we ask for? Duke and North Carolina in the Final Four, dude? This is awesome. This is iconic, dude. This is amazing. Not to mention Villanova and Kansas. So these are big powerhouse schools right here. To where a week ago I said, you know what? We could have like a bunch of no names, really, small schools in here. We could have St. Peter's in the Final Four, dude. We could have freaking Arkansas in the Final Four. Like, so much. We could have had Houston, Miami. To like so many ifs, ands, or buts, but at the end of the day, like I said, the cream rises to the top. The top dogs always rise to the top. So I can't wait. I think for college basketball, we're fortunate enough to see this Final Four right here. I think this is going to be one of the best Final Fours we have seen in decades. I really, truly believe that. We've seen some great Final Fours, in the past decade. Not to mention the decades before that. I just think the Final Four is so great because, all the anticipation, all the media, everything leading up to this. It's just like, it's iconic. And it kind of reminds me of like a heavyweight title fight. Kind of, it's like these fighters are selling themselves like everything's going to happen right here, right now. It's kind of like that team, but obviously basketball is way different than the fight game. More of a team sport, but it's kind of get that same feel of everything, the media building up to this, up to the game time. What are we going to do? What are we going to eat? What's our pregame meal? What's our prep talk? What are we going to go through? Are we going to go through the same things over and over, like we did in the regular season? Just small stuff. All the small stuff adds up, so I can't wait for this. Obviously, you guys know my pick. I'm going Duke. I'll probably go Duke money line, though, on this matchup. Obviously, I win him. I picked him before the NCAA tournament started. I said Duke all the way. That was a separate bet, but, if you guys were betting straight up on just this game, North Carolina and Duke, I would probably go Duke money line. Now, I wouldn't be mad if you went North Carolina, but, 4 points, why would I go money line on this? I just think, 4 points is big. It really is. It's even kind of like similar to football. It's like, if they win by 2 or 3, you lose the bet. You have to win by 4.5 or more, really. So it can get tricky, definitely in basketball as well. I just think, with the spreads, I like money line. That's a really popular bet. You can't go wrong on money lines. Obviously, if you pick the wrong bet, but overall, money line is the play. It is. We go back to the Super Bowl this year. Yeah, we saw the Rams were favored by 4.5 or 3.5, I believe it was, and they won by 3. So you would have lost a bet. That's why a lot of people go money line there. It's definitely in the Super Bowl. Now we're in the Final Four, so I think money line's the play. Now for Kansas Villanova, same thing. I'd probably go money line, but a lot of people will go Kansas. Take that for. Some people will even take more points than that. They'll even take 8 or 9 there, which is crazy. But, if I were to pick points here, I'd probably go Kansas. Just the way they're playing, the way their inside game is, they manhandle people. They get boards when they want. It's a grown man's game down there for Kansas, so I think Kansas has an advantage when it comes to down low, getting rebounds, getting second chance points here. So that's why I'm going to go Kansas. I'll go I'll take the 4 spread on Kansas. I'll go Bill Self. I think they're going to go to the final championship game. So my championship game is Kansas versus Duke Blue Devils. 2 heavyweights here. This is iconic, man. I cannot wait. We got the Final Four, baby. It's college basketball. It's the Cloud with Cab show. Let's go!